Thanks for joining me today. This is Danny and welcome back to my 1.11.2 series. Today we are going to be upgrading our oil production to empowered oil. And we're going to be automating it all with Actually Additions and XNet. So you may remember that I had done this in the past and I did a really complicated, or fairly complicated, RF tools controls program. In this episode, I'm actually going to be doing it with just these things that you see here. So we're going to be using XNet. We're going to be doing a little bit of vanilla redstone, but not much. So this is going to be probably one of the simplest setups for producing empowered oil. Of course, we're going to need a little bit of redstone. We're going to need a few buckets and a wooden pressure plate. Those are the vanilla things. And then we're going to need an XNet controller, connector, and network cable, or a bunch of network cables and a bunch of connectors. And then from RF Tools, we're going to need a few sensors, 3 of them, and we're going to need 3 sequencers. And then from Actually Additions, we're going to be using an empower, 4 display stands, a fluid collector, an atomic reconstructor, a automatic precision dropper, and a fluid placer, and a ranged collector. I've got a little farm utility building over here that we're going to be setting up in. But first, before we get everything set up, let me just explain the differences between the oils. So when we have a canola farm over here, and it's grabbing canola seed, or it's grabbing canola, and when we put that canola in a canola press from Actually Additions, we end up with canola oil. Now we could put that canola oil in an oil generator, and it would generate 40 CF per tick, which is the same as RF and forage energy. So we'll just say 40 RF per tick. And it will do that for 100 ticks. So that's a total of 4,000 RF per bucket of oil, of canola oil. Now the second tier is oil. It's just called oil. And that is something that we get when we use fermenting barrels. So when you put canola oil in a fermenting barrel, you get oil. And this is really easy to automate. All you have to do is set it next to the canola press. The canola press will automatically pull the canola oil out of it and convert it into oil. And the fermenting barrel does not require RF. So it's kind of a no-brainer. If you're going to be burning oil from Actually Additions, burn the oil. Don't bother with the canola oil. Because the oil is going to double your RF per tick. So we're producing 80 CF per tick, or RF, or whatever you want to call it. And we're doing it for 120 ticks. So not only are we getting more per tick, but we're also doing it for longer. So we're actually getting a total of 9,600 per bucket of oil. So that's more than twice what we would get from the canola oil. So then the next tier is going to be crystallized oil. So that's where we basically take a seed and we atomically reconstruct it. And that gets us a crystallized canola seed. And we take that crystallized seed and we throw it in oil and we get crystallized oil. So now when we take that crystallized oil and we put it in an oil generator, we're going to get 100 RF per tick, and we're going to get it for 280 ticks. So we're going to get a total of 28,000 RF per bucket of oil. So we've gone from 4,000 to 9,600 to 28,000. So you can see how far we'll be able to stretch our stuff. And then, of course, we can take this one step further by taking our crystallized seed and placing it in an empowerer with 4 canola seeds in the display stands, which is going to make an empowered canola seed. Guess what we're going to do with this? And we take this seed and we throw it in our crystallized oil to get empowered oil. Nice. Empowered oil is going to give us 120 RF per tick, and it's going to burn for 400 ticks. In total, it's going to give us 48,000 RF per bucket. So I'm just going to set up our empowerer back here. And of course, we set up our Actually Additions empowerer by placing an empowerer and surrounding it by display stands that are 3 blocks away. So that room is basically going to be the empowerer room. Most everything else is going to be in this area. Let's assume that we're going to drop the oil right here. I'm going to set up a sequencer facing that way, one facing that way, and one facing that way. And these 3 sequencers are going to be looking for different things. Obviously, this one, or one of them, is going to be looking for fluid, well, they're all going to be looking for fluid, and one of those is going to be looking for oil. We can keep all the other settings default because we're looking for fluid. Area 1 is one block in front of the sensor. This is the front of the sensor. That's actually the back. And then we're going to have one that's going to be looking for crystallized oil, fluid. And then we have one that's going to be looking for empowered oil, fluid. And the reason I have this one block away from the wall is because unfortunately we're not going to be able to directly access the redstone on these. We have to actually place redstone in the world in order, and then have our XNet system detect the redstone signal there. And then we're going to need to be able to place the oil here and to pick it up when we're done. We're going to have a fluid collector and a fluid placer. So the fluid placer is going to be placing the oil in the world, and then the fluid collector is going to be picking it up. When we place them down, they're in deactivation mode, which means they run all the time unless they get a redstone signal to deactivate them. If we right click on them with a redstone torch, they go into pulse mode. So now they will not do anything unless they get a redstone pulse. So this is where the oil is going to be sitting. And then we need to drop stuff into the oil, right? So that's what we're going to use one of our automatic precision droppers for. And we want this thing to be facing down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand in the ground, and I'm going to place those and then that so that it's facing down. And now I'm going to get rid of these. So the automatic precision dropper from Actually Additions, you may already know, is like a dropper from vanilla, except that it always drops exactly in the block space it's pointing in. So then our atomic reconstructor, we're going to place that over here so that it's kind of out of our way so that we don't end up accidentally picking stuff up. And then I'm going to place the automatic precision dropper up here. I'm placing that 2 blocks up, and I'm placing that 2 blocks away from this corner because we're going to be putting a pressure plate there. And we don't want the pressure plate to deactivate these things, although we do want to use our redstone torch again to set that to pulse mode. Finally, the range collector, we're going to put a filter in this guy. The only thing that we want it to pick up are crystallized seeds, nothing else. And then we have the sequencers. So one of the sequencers we're going to be putting right here facing our atomic reconstructor. And this is just going to help us pulse it faster. So it's set to pulse mode. And what we want to do is, just in case it doesn't do its job on the first pulse for whatever reason, we're just going to have this guy set to loop 4, which means loop the cycle when redstone signal is present, restart on no signal. So what the sequencer is going to do is it's going to run through the sequence, and wherever we have things enabled, it's going to turn on a redstone signal, and then where it's disabled, it's going to turn off the redstone signal. So I'm just going to go, actually let's go like that. So about every 1.5 seconds, it's going to be doing a 2-tick long redstone pulse. As soon as this thing gets a redstone signal, it's going to pulse a redstone signal into there as long as it has a signal. And then we're going to put a couple pieces of redstone down here. Oh, actually, you know what? That is wrong. We're going to put a couple pieces of redstone going into that block, which is going to power our sequencer. So then once the sequencer has a redstone signal, it's going to run through the sequence. So basically all that's doing is it's causing the atomic reconstructor to get pulsed frequently when we're on the pressure plate. We're going to drop canola seeds out of our atomic precision dropper, and as soon as a canola seed drops, our atomic reconstructor is going to turn it into a crystallized canola seed, and as soon as it's a crystallized canola seed, our range collector is going to pick it up. So then there will be nothing on the pressure plate, and it will stop. So the fluid placer, we can actually leave that in deactivation mode. So that way it'll just always place oil there when it can. Fluid collector, we're going to set that to pulse mode. And we're going to put a sequencer on that one too. Whoops. With the same loop, so for the same reason. So basically, we're going to have our XNet system using these sensors to detect what's there. Once it senses that there's empowered oil there, it's going to send redstone pulses to this fluid collector so that it can pick up the fluid. And it'll continue to do that until it picks it up, just in case something happened to go wrong. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to set this to loop 4. And yeah, and that same thing. So that's the physical setup of the machines. Now we just need to add connectors to everything. We're going to need a connector connecting to all these bits of redstone. And then we're going to need a connector going into both sequencers. Or no, not that sequencer, sorry. Just this sequencer. So I'm tearing down half of my RF generation down here, so hopefully we're not going to run out of RF anytime soon. But obviously we need our fermenting barrels, we need our canola presses, and we're going to need our oil generators. But I'm actually going to let those guys finish burning their oil. Alright, now I'm really going to break stuff. I'm disconnecting this from our main network. Okay, everything's got connectors on it, and we've got cables connecting everything. So, and I've moved this, we're going to actually put the other fermenting barrels right here, So, the first thing we're going to have to do is get some power up in here. So I've got a power cell down in there that's connected to this network, so we're just going to extract from that, and we're going to insert into everything including the controller, because the controller is going to need power. And then we're going to be sending power back into that power cell too, but on a different side. One is going to be a item network, and the canola press. We're going to insert canola. Actually, it won't accept anything but canola anyway, so we probably don't even need to do that. And here's the other canola press. We're also going to insert canola, and then from the farm we're going to extract, and the only thing that should end up coming out of the farm is canola, because the only thing it can insert into are things that require canola. But we are going to tell it that we want to do stacks, because right now it's just doing a single item every second. That may not be fast enough, so let's do a stack of items every second. And then we're going to put seeds in this drawer. If I look in this canola press, I should see that it's full of canola, hooray! And if I look in the other one, I should see that one's full of canola too. Yes. Which means we should be generating RF again. We weren't generating RF for a little while there. Whew, it's a little scary. Our power is getting really low. Alright, now we're going to start moving some fluids around. I'm going to create a fluid channel. We're going to find the fluid placer, and we are going to insert, but we want to make sure that we only insert oil. Then we're going to be extracting oil from all of the fermenting barrels. Extract. Create, extract. Yep, so that's these 4 barrels, so we should actually see, yep, we've got oil there, yay! And if we right click down there, we can see the fluid placer is full of oil. Then I'm going to name these blue connectors, because we've got 3 these connectors. We've got 3 connectors that are pointing at redstone, and we can't necessarily tell when we look in here which things that I mean, we can double click to highlight, but of course we don't want to have to do that every single time. So I'm going to call this one, this is the one that's detecting oil. So I'm going to call this one oil detector. And I'm going to call this one crystallized oil detector. We'll just call it, actually they're called sensors, not detectors, but whatever. Crystallized sensor. And then finally we have the empowered sensor. Okay, and we might want to do the same thing with the precision droppers. So we're going to call this one reconstructor, and then actually all the things on, oh, we don't need both of those touching the ranged collector. Let's turn that one off. So that one's facing the west, so we can go in here and we can unselect west, and now we'll only have one thing that's connected to the ranged collector. So then, yeah, so this is reconstructor, and then the other one right here is on the same one as the fluid collector. So we'll just call this one oil, whatever. This is where things are going to get a little bit complicated, because we're going to start playing around with logic. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at these 3 different sensors. We have an oil sensor, and then we have the crystallized sensor, and then we have the empowered sensor. And we're going to create a logic node on this logic channel for each one of those. So the oil sensor, we're going to create a logic node, and we're going to say when redstone RS is, we could say equal to 15, or we could just say greater than 1, whatever. It's either going to be 0 or it's going to be 15. So we're going to output color white when we have oil. So in other words, when this redstone signal is greater than 0, or no, actually it's this one over here. When this redstone signal is greater than 0, the color white will be active or true. And that, of course, happens when we have oil. So white is true when we have oil in our network. And then the crystallized sensor, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to say redstone is greater than 1. We could even say greater than 0, whatever. Then we're going to output color red. So color red is going to be true whenever that oil is actually crystallized oil. And finally, when it's empowered oil, this redstone signal is going to be greater than 0. We're going to output green. Oh, this is what I wanted the other sequencer for. I almost forgot. We're also going to put a sequencer on this automatic precision dropper. So this automatic precision dropper is going to be set to pulse mode. So it's only going to drop items when it gets a redstone pulse. And then this guy, we're going to do the same thing that we did with all the other ones. We're going to go to loop 4, which means run through the loop when you have a redstone signal and restart anytime the signal toggles off and then back on. That means when we give this sequencer a redstone signal, this dropper is going to drop stuff. We want that dropper to always be full of seeds. So on our item network, we are going to find the automatic precision dropper that is by the reconstructor. So we can see the connector name is reconstructor, the block is automatic precision dropper, so we know that's the right one. So in the item channel, we're going to insert seeds. Okay, so we ended up with canola in there, but that's fine. So now we should only get seeds in there. So here we're going to extract. So we're inserting and extracting into this drawer. And let's do that a stack at a time so that it doesn't take so long. Yeah, there we go. Label this sequencer. So this is our reconstructor sequencer. So apparently we can have 2 that are the same name. That's fine. It's all a part of our reconstructor setup over there. So here's how this system is going to work when I'm all done with it. Our system is going to look at what's in this block space. If there's oil in this block space, it's going to grab a crystallized canola seed from the ranged collector, and it's going to drop it through this precision dropper. Or it's basically just going to place it in the precision dropper. The precision dropper is in deactivation mode, so it'll just drop whatever it has. That will, of course, turn this into crystallized oil. Oh, and the crystallized canola seeds are going to be produced down here. Or produced right here. So what our system is going to do is it's going to take a look at the inventory in our ranged collector, and it's going to say, hey, let's keep a stack of crystallized canola seeds in there. Why not, right? So if there's anything less than 64 crystallized canola seeds, it's going to give a redstone signal to the sequencer, which is going to pulse our precision dropper, which is going to cause the canola seeds to drop. And then, of course, when the canola seeds drop, our atomic reconstructor is going to repeatedly do that. and then the range collector will pick them up as soon as they become crystallized canola seeds, and then there will be nothing on the pressure plate, and our atomic reconstructor will stop. There's always fallen nights in the tree farm. I don't know what's up with that. So we'll always have crystallized seeds on hand. So then what this system is going to do is once it sees that, hey, we've got crystallized oil in here now, then it's going to say, hey, let's grab a empowered seed from the empower. So we're always going to be placing a crystallized seed in the empower surrounded by regular canola seeds. So whenever we need an empowered seed, it's just going to pull it out of the empower, and then it's going to drop it in here, at which point this sensor will trigger saying, hey, we've got empowered oil in here. And that is going to tell us to send a redstone signal to this sequencer, which is our fluid collector, and it's going to pick it up. We're going to take a look at our ranged collector in our logic channel, we're going to create a node, and we're going to say output to color blue when the items in the ranged collector are fewer than 64. They're blue. So then we're going to take our sequencer by the reconstructor. We're going to create a node, and we're going to make it an output node, meaning it's going to output redstone when the color is blue. So these things up here basically say only do this activity below when these colors are all true, and the black just means nothing. So when blue is true, we're going to output a redstone signal of 15, which is going to cause that sequencer to run. So as you can see, it is now dropping these guys and filling up our range collector. So it's going to do that until we have 64 in there. Okay, so now that we've got lots of crystallized canola seeds in there, now we can start outputting those crystallized canola seeds to the two places where they're needed. So the one place it's needed is in the empower. So we're going to insert crystallized canola seeds into the empower, and we're going to extract from our ranged collector. So we should now have a crystallized canola seed in our empower. Hooray! So now the display stands. We're going to pull... oh, we need another connector on that thing, and there's nowhere to put it. An alternative to putting another connector on this thing would be to just create another channel, because we're already inserting into a precision dropper here. So I'm going to create another another item channel, and we're going to extract from our reconstructor, and we're going to insert into the four display stands. And just to make sure, I'm going to filter those. Right now, canola seeds are the only thing on this network, but we may add more. We may add other things later, so I'm just going to add a filter for all these. So now we should see, yay! We should see that it put the seeds on the display stands, and then as you saw, it just empowered one. So we now have an empowered crystal in the middle of our empower. Hooray! And the seeds, the canola seeds, are sitting on the display stands ready for the next time. So as soon as this empowered seed gets pulled out, it's going to put another crystallized canola seed in there. So as you can see, we have 64 crystallized canola seeds, and now we're going to set this automatic precision dropper to drop crystallized canola seeds from the range collector when there's oil in there. For now, I'm actually going to set this to pulse mode just temporarily, so that because while we're setting up the filter, it might grab some stuff, and we don't want it to be dropping a whole bunch of stuff out there in the world. So there's two things that have to happen. We have to pull from the range collector, but we also have to tell the range collector not to pick it up. If we pull a crystallized seed from the range collector and drop it in our oil, like let's pretend this is the oil, it's just going to pick it up again. So obviously we want to shut that off. We have it in deactivation mode, so what we're going to do is on our logic channel, actually we're going to have to create another logic channel. We are going to create a sensor that we're going to create an output that outputs redstone on white. So in other words, when we have oil in there, it's not going to pick up our crystallized canola seeds. So theoretically, it should only be oil for a little while anyway. So like right now it's disabled because we have oil in there. It's not going to pick up our crystallized seeds. Automatic precision dropper that's on the oil connector, and we're going to insert on the item channel, the same item channel where we're pulling from the ranged collector, which has our empowered seed or our crystallized seeds, and we're going to say create, and we're going to quickly put this in there, and we're going to say 1, and we're going to go enable on color white. So actually, let me make sure nothing got in there. Yeah, see, a lot of stuff got in there while we were doing that. This guy, oh yes, I forgot one thing. We have to enable metadata matching. It turns out that all of the crystallized seeds, or all of the canola seeds and canola, have the same ID. So it'll put canola in there if we don't specify that we want it to match metadata. That's very important. So we're inserting on color white, so that means when we have oil, a single item, our max amount in the destination inventory. We only wanted to put in one crystallized canola seed, and we're going to match metadata. So now if we go in here and we pull this stuff out, it should put another crystallized seed in there. So it's always going to keep one in there. And of course, since we have this on, since we're going to have this on deactivation mode, it's just going to drop it right away. And then we have crystallized oil. Hooray! I'm actually going to put that back in pulse mode for now. So now this redstone signal is on instead of that one because we now have crystallized oil. So now we want to tell it, when we have crystallized oil, we want to grab this guy. We want to grab that empowered crystal. In fact, I'm going to grab that one right now because I'm going to need it in order to set up the filter, and it should create another one. Yay! So then we're going to have to use the other channel because we're already inserting into the empowerer on that channel. And we're going to say extract empowered canola seeds from our empowerer. I'm just going to filter that so it doesn't end up grabbing the crystallized seeds. Although we're going to put the filter on both ends. And then we're going to say that same automatic precision dropper that's on the oil connector, we're going to insert on this channel as well. But we're only going to do empowered canola seeds, and only one, and only when red is true. So right now, oh crap, and we have to match metadata. Oh, we better do the same thing here as well. Metadata. Okay. So now, if we pull that seed out, we won't get another one. If we pull this seed out, we'll get another one of those. Okay. So now if I hit this guy with the redstone torch to make it into deactivation mode, it turns into empowered oil. Somehow we ended up with an extra. I'm hoping that that was just a byproduct of our testing. So now the empowered oil bucket is turned on. So now all we have to do is say, hey, when the empowered oil bucket is turned on, we need to pulse our fluid collector. Let's just call this collector. So the sequencer that's on the collector connector is going to get power. So we're going to go to our logic channel. The sequencer, we're going to output a redstone signal when we're on channel green. So that means we've detected that we have empowered oil, because that's green. Then we're going to output a redstone signal of 15. And then it picked it up. And now we have regular oil, and it's being made into empowered oil. Yay! It's working! Nice! And it's making seeds as it needs them. Actually, I don't know why. Okay, yeah. So each time it needs to make two empowered, or it needs to make two crystallized seeds every time it does that. Nice. Beautiful. So it's gonna keep doing that until this thing is full. And then it's just gonna fill up all of our buffers, and then we've got that sitting in there. We've got seeds sitting in here. And there we go. And then we're always just gonna have a bucket of empowered oil that's just sitting there. I'm waiting to be pulled again. In fact, we could probably turn this sequencer off just to save TPS when this fluid collector is full. Fluid collector, we're going to say create. We'll make this one color yellow. I don't think we're using yellow yet. When the fluid is less than 7,000. No, actually, we'll do 7,001. Or we could say less than or equal to 7,000. So when there's 7 buckets or less, actually that needs to be black. We're going to output to yellow. So then we're going to go into our collector sequencer, and we're going to say output this redstone signal when green is true and blue is true. So green and blue both have to be true. So if we look at it right now, it's stopped. It's not looping at the moment. But if we take some fluid out of this fluid collector, it'll start again. All right, I've got all 4 of these oil generators hooked in. So we're going to have to create a different fluid network because it turns out that these guys, the crystallized oil and the empowered oil, they have the same ID. And XNet is not giving us the option to to look at to match on metadata when it comes to fluids. So we'll create a new fluid channel. And the only thing that will be allowed on this fluid channel is empowered oil. In fact, I'm even going to name it empowered oil, even though I'll just name it empowered. A fluid collector, create, extract. And now we don't even have to do filters because the only thing that's going to be on this channel is empowered oil. So we're going to insert, insert, insert. There should be a 4th one. Where's the 4th one? Oh, up here. I'm not really sure what the ordering is for this. I wish there was a way to like sort that. But so now we should see that these are all filling up with empowered oil. Nice, and they're all generating 120 CF per tick for 400 ticks. Nice. Okay, very cool. Now we can start extracting power from these guys. I've moved the power cell up here. And it's input on one side and output on the other, and I actually labeled the connectors so that we know which is which when we look in here. So on our power channel, that's our white channel, we're going to see that with 2 slots. So this is input, this is output. So we're going to insert here, and we're going to extract there. And then, so that'll power all of our stuff from the power cell. But then we want to get this power into the power cell. We're going to find all our generators. And we're going to extract power, and extract. So we should see that our power is going up. Yay! It's a good thing because we were running out. I adjusted some of the priorities for the power just to make sure that our controller doesn't run out of power, because what was happening is all the power was going into the power cell and none of it was getting into the controller, and it was running out of power. And if this thing runs out of power, it's going to stop moving power and then everything will die. So I decreased the power cell down to -10. So that it's less than everything else. And I increased the controller to +10, and then everything else is at 0. The only thing I don't like about this setup from aesthetics is this, having that blue connector sticking out of the middle of the room. That's why I moved the door over, because it was before that you'd walk in the room. Like, you'd walk right in the middle of this thing. But now you're coming in over here. And I might change the blocks here in kind of a pathway. This is nice. I love this. I love seeing all this stuff happening automatically. So I added 16 more generators. I've now got 24 oil generators. And I'm now producing, what is this? 2,880 RF per tick. Compared to 640 that I was producing before. And I'm using about the same amount of canola doing it. So that is pretty awesome. We're kind of draining our system at the moment, which is kind of a good thing. We can make sure that everything works because it's filling up all of these generators, so it's using a lot of resources just to fill them up. Once it gets them filled up, it should be fine. I really like XNet. It's actually a lot of fun to work with. It makes some things crazy easy, but I still like it. And I hope you like it too. So if you do have any questions, comments, or whatever, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And of course, if you did like this, don't forget to click the like button and to join me next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.